I got my first job. I was so nervous. I had applied to a bunch of places. Nobody wanted to hire me. I got a notice in the mail after like 6 months, and they were like, hey, like you're delinquent. But I think there's always those moments where like you're like, this is why I do it. And then it got not awesome because, you know, like being in the service industry, it takes a toll on you.
Yeah. Yo soy Dante y esto es Dale Dale.
Del uno al otro no encuentro la esencia y el testigo no existe sin parcialidad.
Kim?
Hola.
Welcome. How's it going?
Thank you. Pretty good.
Good?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a long day, but
yeah.
today we've recorded about, this is my third episode today.
Yeah, I saw that you guys posted on your story something like that, and I was like, dang, he's doing multiple today.
Yeah, it's the most efficient way to do it.
Knock them all out.
Yeah, so I'm like, let's get it. You got this amazing food truck, I've heard, and I've tried it, and it's super good. I love it. El Veneno. How do you come up with it?
Oh, man. Well, like having a food truck wasn't my original plan, I guess. I've been cooking for a long time. So I started cooking when I was little. And originally I wanted to be a baker.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Cake Boss?
Uh-huh.
Loved that show. Oh my God. I wanted to be just like Buddy. Like I wanted to be on his show.
Buddy's the host, right? The Italian. Yeah.
I wanted to be on his show. And then, so I would like bake a lot when I was younger too. But then, I don't know, baking is like so exact. Like it's such a science that if you don't have the patience for it, then it doesn't work. And I came to find that I don't have the patience for it because I like to just like do stuff and see what happens. You can't really do that with baking because a lot of times it'll just like mess up. So then I started like leaning more into cooking. I knew I wanted to pursue something like in the food industry, but my dad, like he's a single parent and he's immigrated here to the United States. So to them, it was always like work for a better life. And so they have like a certain idea of what success looks like. So when I told him like, hey, like I want to be a chef, like I want to cook and stuff like that, like he didn't get it. And he wasn't like supportive of it because he was like, no, like that's not a good career. Like you're not going to be financially stable. And, you know, they wanted me to be like a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. So I ended up getting a full ride to university. So I went. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I ended up figuring out that they had a nutrition program. So I did that for 4 years and I graduated. After I graduated, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to pursue something in like the nutrition field, the dietetics or something like that. But like my heart wasn't in it. Like I really liked it. Like it's like awesome knowing the science behind food. But like it was always like I always knew that was just going to be a stepping stone to getting into the food industry. So after I graduated, I moved back to Charlotte. I was like chilling for like a month or two, and then I was like, all right, I need a job.
Okay. But before we get to that, you said your parents, they migrated to the United States. Were you born in the States?
I was born in Charlotte.
Charlotte?
Actually. Yeah, I'm born and raised. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I get that all the time. They're like, you guys are so rare. There's not a lot of you, and I'm like,
how old are you?
I am 23. I'm 23. I turned 24 in September.
You're so young.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So when you told your dad, hey, I want to be a chef, he didn't get it. I've heard this so many times.
Yeah.
Because especially for parents that moved from a different place, they're like work, and it's hard for them to understand how the system works. Was it hard for you to get into college? Was it something that you wanted to do, or how was that experience for you?
School for me was never like very difficult because I think it's also because like I knew that like I had a lot to like live up to, like the standards of like he came here, he sacrificed so much, so like I have to like be better, like I have to do better. So school wasn't hard. I didn't have a hard time getting into college, but I didn't really want to go because I knew I wanted to go. It's not that I didn't want to go to school. I wanted to go to culinary school was the problem.
Okay.
But my dad like didn't want me to go to culinary school. So then it was like, what am I going to do like now? So I was like, I'll go to school, be a nurse, or like I'll figure something out, you know?
I think a lot of people go through that.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I did it. I switched my major so many times. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I found the nutrition program and I was like, oh, this is the closest thing I'm going to get to food. So I did that and it was nice. I actually started like selling food when I was still in college, in university. It was like random. I was like selling tamales at Compare Foods. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and then I was like, oh man, that was like exhilarating. That was so much fun. And
was that your first experience, like first time like
selling food? Yeah. So I had never worked in the food industry before, because my dad like focused, like for me specifically, like to pay attention in school, and I had like younger siblings and stuff like that, like, and he was a single parent, so it was like I was the oldest daughter. I was pretty much like the mom of the house, and so yeah, so I never had a job, and then I went to college, and so like me selling food was my first job, my first ever job.
Okay.
And the tamales, like I love doing it, and so then like I would drive, so I went to school in Greensboro. I would come to Charlotte on the weekends, and I would like post on Instagram like, oh, I'm gonna be making this, and then like people that I knew would buy food. It got to a point where it was like I was doing it like on my personal Instagram, like selling food through there, and then I was like, I need like a separate page for this. And so by that time, I already knew, like I was like I want to do something like in food. Like I know, like even if after I graduate I do something like in the nutrition department, like I know I'm going to end up going like somewhere else. Like that's just going to be like the first step before I can like afford to have a restaurant, because you know it's expensive.
Yeah.
And then I like started selling food like almost every weekend. That's kind of how El Veneno started.
Does your dad know how to cook?
He's not like a chef or anything, but he does know how to cook. There's like specific things that he makes that like, I don't think that it doesn't matter how much experience I ever gain, like how good I am at doing something. I don't think I'll ever be able to make certain things better than him. So he's not like a pro or anything like that, but he can throw down in the kitchen. He can hold his weight.
So you got it from him?
I wouldn't say I got it from him. I think I'd probably say if I got it from anybody, it's my grandma. So my grandma on his side, so his mom, she can cook. That lady.
Where's your dad from?
My dad's from Mexico City. So a lot of the influence that I get from cooking, it's from Mexico City because it's such a diverse place. But my grandpa's from Oaxaca and my grandma is from Toluca. So they were from like little towns, and then they moved to the city because like to start their family, you know.
Mexico City is my favorite city.
It's awesome.
I love it.
It's awesome. I want everybody to go experience it because like it has so much of like everything that it's like you can experience so much in one spot. And then the food. The food is so good.
To be honest, I didn't like Mexican food until I went to Mexico City.
Yeah.
You know, my wife, she was like, she wanted to have Mexican food all the time. And I'm like, no, I don't want it. And then I went to Mexico City.
Yeah, it's different.
I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. I tell people that too. Like, my food is good, I think, but like, I know that it does not compare to what you can have in Mexico City. Like, I can imitate as much as I want, but I don't know if it's the air or what it is over there. It just makes the food 10 times better. Like, it's just a complete experience when you actually eat it over there.
So I'm from Venezuela, and the hot dogs in Caracas, they're like a specialty in the street food. And they say the flavor comes from the el trapito sucio.
Yeah. We have a saying like that too. And it's like, because te cobran con las manos, and then van y tocan la comida, and they're like, that's what makes it taste good.
Yeah.
That's not allowed here though, but.
So you're going to college, you started selling food on the side. That's your first side hustle.
Yeah.
Right? So what's next on that?
I was doing that for a while. I think I started my junior year of school when I was in college. And then it was like getting to my last year, and I was like, all right, I have to hone in. Like, I'm about to graduate. Like, I need to like focus on school. And
so it was growing.
Yeah. It was, I specifically remember I was in a sports nutrition class, and I'm in the middle of lecture, and this was like, I was in school when the whole COVID thing happened, so like we were back in class, but we were all very spaced out. So it was like per table, it was just, in this specific class, it was a table with 2 seats, and it was like one person here, and the next table, one person there on the opposite side, because we still couldn't be close. I have my laptop out, doing my work, paying attention on the screen. I have my phone next to me. And it just keeps vibrating. It just keeps going off. And I'm like, what the heck? So I flip it over, and I see it's like notifications from El Veneno, like saying that like we're getting followers or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I put it to the side. And like it will not stop buzzing like in class. And I'm like, what the heck? We were like getting like thousands of followers like all at once. I had to turn my phone off. I didn't know how to like stop the notifications were coming in. I was in the middle of lecture. Like my laptop was going off too. So I was like, oh my God. And so it, like when I was in school, like that's kind of like when it really started to skyrocket. And I honestly, I didn't know what to do because I would have people like messaging me all the time, like, "Are you guys open?" I had people calling me because for some reason on our business cards I put my phone number on there, my personal phone number.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 12 at night and people are calling me and I'm like, we're closed. Like we're not open. So yeah, and then like I felt a lot of pressure from that, honestly, to like keep doing it. And I was like, man, like I already started, like it's getting momentum. Like how am I gonna stop now? So my senior year, I kind of stopped doing it because I had to like focus on school. And I feel like I kind of hit like a wall, like a plateau. Like I was just like, I didn't know what to do. I was also running out of ideas. There's also so much you can only do at your house, you know, like it just got hard. And then I got my first job working in a kitchen. And then
So let me pause it right here. So it was called El Veneno from the beginning.
from the beginning, it didn't have a name because I was just like selling food to people I know.
Okay.
And apart from my personal Instagram, I had started another Instagram that was called Kimmy's Recipes, where I would like make food and I would post the recipes for it for people like to do or whatever. I had like 50 followers on there, but it was more for me, like to be able to be creative on there. And then when El Veneno started picking up more momentum, I like switched it over to the Kimmy's Recipe page, but it still wasn't El Veneno. Like the name came about randomly. People ask me all the time, why did you choose that name? What does that mean? And especially people who don't speak Spanish, and they ask me what does it mean, and I translate it in English and I tell them that it means the poison. They're like, oh my god, why would you name it that? And I don't know, it's just random. Like I knew I wanted it to be different, and I feel like the name went a lot like with that. Like I can't pick a regular, so like, you know, like Mexican places here, like they all have like the same vibe. Like it's like taqueria, blah blah blah, taqueria. Yeah. You know, like they all have like the same vibe, same color scheme, orange, yellow, lime,
so
green.
Traditional.
It's very there's nothing wrong with that, but I think I grew up in a very non-traditional household and I carry myself like in a very non-traditional way. So I wanted like my work to reflect that because I didn't want it to be something that I didn't feel like I connected to. So when I was coming with the name, I was like, I want it to be different. I don't want it to be this. I don't want it to be that. And I was like, but what do I want it to be? And at first I thought of like, of it being like something a little vulgar because like we curse a lot, especially like in Mexico City, like we curse a lot. And it's not even like in a bad way. That's just the way that we like talk to each other. But I couldn't think of anything. And then I was like talking to my uncle outside one day. And I was like, I want it to be something like ironic, like, I don't know, something that catches people's attention. And when they hear it, they're like, oh, like, you know, and we were like spitballing ideas at each other. And he said something about veneno and then like something else. And then like, it just like hit me. Like, I was like, oh my God, I was like, that's so cool. And like, I love skulls. Like, it's like such a big part of our culture. Like death is such a big part of our culture. And it's not something like bad to us. And so I was like, oh, it could be like El Veneno, and then like the logo could be a skull, and then it all just started kind of falling together. And literally that day, I like went inside and I changed the Instagram name to El Veneno, and I told my dad, I was like, because I was still living at home during this time, and I was like, I came up with the name, it's gonna be called El Veneno, and he was like, no. He was like, ¿Cómo crees? ¿Por qué le vas a poner ese nombre? Eso se escucha feo. Vas a estar envenenando a la gente. And I was like, no. I was like, you don't get it. I was like, it's gonna be different. And from that time, like I knew I had a vibe that I wanted to go with, and I was like, this matches the vibe. He was like, no. And they were like, le tienes que poner como garnachería mexicana or something. And I was like, there's already places that are called that. I was like, I want it to be different. And I was like, there's no point in like following the same path as somebody else. Like, why do we want to do everything the same as everybody else? Why not be different? Like, nobody cares if you do everything the same way. And like, he didn't get it. So I was like, okay, change the Instagram to freaking garnachería mexicana. But then I changed it back.
So you listened to him at the moment, and then you changed your mind?
Yeah, he's my dad. He knows what's best. And like I could see it from their point of view. Like, I was like, I guess they are right. Like, who's going to want to eat at a place that looks like death or whatever, you know? But then, like, I changed it, and, like, behind his back, I didn't tell him. And then, and he was, like, really against it at first. He was like, no, that's not a good idea. It's not going to work. But now he's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, now he's like, that's awesome.
So you finished, you graduated from school, started a new job at a kitchen. How do you feel there? How was that experience?
Oh, man. I don't know what your first like I don't know, you know when you want something so bad and you finally get it, it's like nothing in the world can put you, like you're on a high, man, like nothing in the world can put you down. Like I got my first job. I was so nervous. I had applied to a bunch of places. Nobody wanted to hire me. And I applied to this job. I go for my interview and I'm like, oh my God, like this dude's not gonna want me either. I'm nervous. I'm like, I need a job. So I applied to, one of the places I applied to was El Toro Bruto. I don't know if you've been there.
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. It was over at Resident Culture in South End. And I get there, I see Chef Hector walk out. He like looks like angry. He's like wearing a chef coat, like slams his stuff on the table while I'm waiting for him. And he's like, how you doing today? And I was like, good. And we're just like chatting. And he's like, all right, can you come in on, I don't know what day he told me to come in. I was like, yeah, sure. And then I like come in, he like makes me do like random tasks, I guess, to see if I could do it. And he was like, all right, he was like, you can keep coming. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, awesome. Like I was like in there like looking at all the stuff in the kitchen. I was so excited. Like I was like, I can't believe I'm finally gonna be able to cook. Like this is what I wanted my whole life. And I think when I got there, I was 21 when I got there. And I was like, this is awesome. Like I'm an adult now. I have my first job. Like I'm making my own money. And it was just awesome. Like for a long time, like I was like, I had like all these ideas. Like I would come to him all the time. I feel like now that I look back on it, like I think I was like, dang, like I was so annoying. Like I would be like, what if we do this? What if we do that? What if we change this? And he would be like, yeah. Like he was always like cool about it. Like he would always listen to me and encourage my ideas. And I probably annoyed the other chefs there too, because I was always like, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we do it that way? Like this tastes good, but what if we do this? And so it was just awesome. And then it got not awesome because, you know, like being in the service industry, it takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
There's like long nights, always having to fix and do something. But I think that's just part of like the burden that comes with the job. I still talk to Hector. He's one of my close friends. I don't know. I was just really grateful for that experience because in my head, like after I graduated, like, I was like, I need to open up the food truck immediately.
How long do you work there for?
I worked there for almost a year. I was like a month short from being there for a year. While I started working there, like when I started, I told him, I was like, hey, like I'm gonna open up a food truck, so I don't know how long I'll actually be here. And he was like, okay, that's fine. And
so he was cool about it.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, by that time I was doing pop-ups too, so I wasn't only selling at my house. I started doing pop-ups. And it was at breweries and stuff like that. So I had like a little tent, my flat top, and I would take stuff and I would sell food there. And so I told him about that too, and he was like, he started doing pop-ups. That's how he started his business. So he was like really understanding of it, and yeah. So I was like, I don't know how long I'll be here, but getting the food truck took a little bit longer than I expected.
How's that process? What's the first thing you gotta do when you get a food truck?
It's a lot. If I could redo it, I would definitely go about it in a different manner because I got the food truck built first.
Okay.
And there was like I told them like a couple things that I wanted in it, but I also didn't know like all the rules and regulations of it. And in Mecklenburg County specifically, like they're really like picky about certain stuff. So nothing. I told them, I was like, I want it to be this size. I want this in it. And then yeah, they did that, and they were like, design for the outside, and I was like, oh, I don't really know. And then I have so many like drafts of stuff that they sent me that I hated. And then the way that it ended up now is like a blessing, honestly, because if I wouldn't have like came up with that design, then it would look so, in my opinion, so ugly. Like I showed one of my friends, I don't know who I showed, the original draft of the design, and they told me that it looked like a Chipotle bag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, good thing I didn't go with that one.
So what would you recommend to someone who's trying to get a food truck or open up a business as a food truck to figure out, get what the requirements are?
Specifically, yeah, for Mecklenburg County, because they're picky about certain stuff. And then obviously making sure you have all your paperwork intact. 'Cause like when I started, I didn't have like a business ID or like, you know, all the tax stuff. Research taxes in the state, please, because I didn't know that there was sales and use tax. So when I opened up the food truck, I went 6 months without paying sales and use tax because I thought you just filed it all at the end of the year like you do regular taxes.
So you weren't collecting taxes?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't collecting taxes from people, and I wasn't paying them to the state and to the county. So I got a notice in the mail after like 6 months, and they were like, hey, like you're delinquent on all of this. And it was like from 6 months, and they're like, you need to pay this. And the interest charges on that stuff is outrageous. And so I'm like looking at it, and I was like, where the hell am I going to get the money for this? I was like,
because you had to pay out of pocket, right?
yeah, I was like, what the heck? Because I hadn't collected any of it, and it's, I think in total, I know it's 2% for county, and then it's 7.25, I think, for state.
Yeah.
And so I was like, where am I supposed to get all of this from? I figured it out. I pay it now, but I'd definitely say do your research on stuff like that because it sucks having to scramble at the last minute.
But would you say that if you had all this information from the very beginning, that you would have been overwhelmed or scared in a way?
I think it definitely scares you because when I would ask people, so I would talk to Hector about it all the time, and he would be like, you need this, you need that, you need this, you need that. But also his business ran a little bit differently because it was located inside of another business. So he didn't have all the answers that I needed. And then also ours is mobile, so it's not the same as like a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely was overwhelming having to hear like the things that you need to do, especially when there's like no like explanation on it. Like you can't Google like what do you need. Like you try to Google like answers or something and it doesn't tell you like right off the bat. So I feel like maybe a checklist would have probably been easier.
So you finally got all your permits and all this stuff, and what do you do next? How do you stop anywhere that you want, or is that organized? Because you were working from home, right? Doing pop-ups, then you got the food truck, and you get the green light. Say, hey, you can work now.
So actually the way that we, like our first day, our opening day, our soft launch, it kind of just happened by like coincidence. I had finally gotten the trailer, put everything in it, fixed what needed to be fixed, because our trailer was custom built to like what I wanted. And then I get it, and then I'm not going to say who, but somebody was like, this isn't going to pass, you need to take this out, you need to change that. And because it's custom built, like everything was kind of like completely bolted into the trailer, and it was made to look a specific way. We had to rip out a bunch of the pieces. And so when you take all that stuff out, it looks ugly. Like there's like holes and stuff everywhere. And then you have to make something that wasn't made for that spot fit in that spot. And so I had to take a lot of the stuff out and put new stuff in. And it was hard. And I some of my first pop-ups, I started with Bloom and Bottle. I actually did my first pop-up there. It was a little like, I don't know what you call places like that. They have like beer and like wine and stuff like that on tap. And so I started doing pop-ups there, and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, like I'm getting inspected next week. I'm pretty sure hopefully it's gonna pass. I was like, do you have anything available for us to do our soft launch there? And they were like, we don't, sorry. And I'm tight with Julia and Doug there. And so they were like, we wish we could help you. And I was like, where am I going to go now? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know where to put a food truck, you know? Like, nobody tells you what to do. And then they, like, hit me back up, and they're like, hey, we have a spot opening up. And the person who had that spot that was going to be selling food there, I know him as well. He does, like, Thai food. His Instagram is Spicy White Boy, if you guys want to check that out. And he had something come up, and he was going to be able to make it. So he said that he would love for me to take the spot. And so I was like, bam, we got it. I got inspected Thursday. Wednesday. I got inspected Wednesday. Actually, no, it was Thursday. Okay, we got inspected Thursday. It passed, and then next day, Friday, we were out. So it was like that morning was crazy. I was in the kitchen all by myself working. My brother came, helped me for a couple hours, and he had to leave. My other friends came, helped me for a little, and then they had to leave. And it was just like I had people like coming in and out, and I was like, I need help. And yes, we went to Bloom and Bottle. We were there for like a couple hours. We only had chicken and steak, and then we had tacos and mulitas. That was it. This is our menu. We didn't have anything else. People were like, you have this, you have that. And I was like, no, like we literally just passed our inspection yesterday. Like this is all I could do for you in 8 hours. And yeah, we got that date. And I think we were like chilling for like a week before I got anything else. Cause then you have to like reach out to a whole bunch of people to see where can you go, who's gonna give you the green light. Yeah, it kind of just.
Is there some kind of association or organization that for food trucks in Charlotte?
There's a lot of like groups, like on Facebook, on Instagram, stuff like that. There's groups that you can join where people like what's the word, publicize like events and stuff like that that you could join. But I feel like it's more like just kind of figuring it out for yourself. There's this group. Their thing is like food truck events or something like that.
Okay.
And you can join like their like mailing list, and every day they send out like a bunch of like possible events.
Okay.
You're not guaranteed to get them because like there's a lot of food trucks in the city. But they send you like what the event is, what day it is, what time it's from, how many people are going to be there. And if you're interested in it, you can tell them, hey, I'm interested. And then they'll give like the people who are available for it to the person like looking for the truck. And then they'll pick who the vendor is. So, I mean, there's like stuff like that it tries to facilitate like people. But things like that, it's more to facilitate people finding a truck rather than a truck finding a person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like to help people. Like if you were looking for somebody to do an event, like it's more to help you find it instead of us trying to find you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You mentioned that there's a lot of food trucks in the city.
Oh, yeah.
How do you stand out? I know there's not a perfect formula, but I think I know what it is. But I want to hear your...
So before I get into that, originally, like I came up like me deciding that I wanted a food truck came a long time ago. And there weren't that many food trucks in the city. Like you can ask like anybody who has a food truck and they'll tell you like the influx in food trucks has been crazy. Like I remember you would see a couple like here and there, and now it's like you see them on every street. Yeah. Every corner. So
I mean, the city has grown so much.
It has.
There's so many people moving in.
Yeah.
In business, they grow too.
I'm glad. But it's like hard. Like it like saturates the market so much. And so like going back to how do you stand out? Like I think we stand out in numerous ways. And I think it's just that we do things differently. Like I think anybody who comes to our food truck, they notice that we don't do things the traditional way or the American way also, because there's like traditional to us Hispanics, so we do Mexican food, so there's traditional to Mexicans, and then there's traditional to an American. And while we try to stick to like being traditional Mexican, we also stray from that, so we're not traditional to either groups. And so I think when people finally come around to like trying us and seeing like what we do, they're like almost like taken aback. Because like I joke about it a lot and I post stuff on Instagram about it, like when people come up and ask for lettuce or sour cream and stuff like that, it's not us being like assholes about it, but it's like we just don't do that. Like Taco Bell is good. I love Taco Bell. I had Taco Bell yesterday, but I don't do Taco Bell. And I think like sometimes it's hard for people to understand and respect that like not every place is gonna do things the same. And to me, when I started the food truck, like I wanted it to be very traditional, like it's going to be done the exact way that you can get it back home. But I think me being like an individual, like I was like, okay, like I can't do everything traditional because then I'm going to lose myself. And like the whole point of me having my own business is for me to be able to express myself like through the food and like how I like it. And so for example, like our black al pastor, when I had it's not my original idea. Let me put that out, guys. I didn't come up with black al pastor. You can find it other places, not in Charlotte, but we're the only ones to do it in Charlotte. But it was not my original idea. But one of my favorite chefs, one of my favorite Mexican chefs, he focuses a lot on Yucatan, which is a place in Mexico, and how they cook. And so he has a restaurant that it like is specifically like Yucatan based.
Yucatan is where Mérida and Cancun. Okay.
And so the recipe actually from the black al pastor, it's from Yucatan, and it's called recado negro. So a lot of people, when they ask me how we do the al pastor, they think we dye it, because traditionally the al pastor is red, and al pastor, the trompo, is from Mexico City. So I knew right off the rip, I wanted to have al pastor. I wanted it to be on the trompo the right way. So we take things like that it's the traditional way. Like you're supposed to cook it on a trompo, on the spit. Like that's how it's supposed to be cooked. There's nothing wrong with marinating pork and like cooking it on a plancha, but that's not the traditional way. And to me, like you can't call that al pastor because it's not. I think people vice versa could look at me and the way that I marinate the trompo and how it's black, and they can tell me that it's not al pastor because I don't do it the traditional way. So this chef does it, and there's also these people in California called Evil Cooks, and they have, their whole thing is like rock themed, and so everything on their menu is like black. Like they have like a cheeseburger taco, it's called the McSatan. They have like octopus on a trompo.
Wow.
They have lengua on a trompo. Like they do a bunch of cool, like crazy stuff. But anyways, I tend to stray from the topic. I like to talk.
That's all right.
And okay, so how we stand out. I think taking like various aspects from things that are traditional home, but to adding our little twist to it is what makes us stand out. And I think like we take key components that are traditional, and that makes people like it more. So when we like pride ourselves on like getting the best of the best. So if we do tortillas, we don't make our tortillas. It would take me forever to make tortillas. I don't have the team to make tortillas by hand. Eventually I would like to, but so we're like, where can we get the best tortillas from? Do the tortillas. We make sure that we do double tortilla. Why? Because that's the right way to eat a taco. Tortillas are not supposed to be dry when you eat a taco. They're supposed to be dipped in fat. Is it bad for you? Maybe a little bit. Does it taste good? Yes. How can we elevate the fat? We're not just using oil. What do? We render our own fat. So from all the scraps from all of our meat, I render it, and I do it kind of carnita style. So it gives it another flavor. Boom, elevates your tortilla. Our meats, we make sure we put a lot of attention into our marinades and all that. So some people tell me, to me, what's the best meat that we have? The al pastor, because it's unique, it's different. You don't get it anywhere else. So I think that's the one thing that sets us aside is our al pastor. You can't get that anywhere else in the city. Another thing that sets us aside is our name. Where else are you gonna go to somewhere called The Poison? You're not. 3, I think it's that we're young. And I think that gives us like another flair. Like traditionally you go to a restaurant, they're mom and pops, you know, people don't get to sadly live out their dreams until they're older because we all have that mindset of having to work. And so then when you finally get to the point where you can retire from your job and like start living your dreams, you're older. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think like this generation is doing a good job of trying to change that. Like we're more like follow your dreams first and like success will come after. Like we're not so much worried on finances and stuff like that, which is like kind of sucks because we're all broke.
But in a way you're making your finances.
Yeah.
I mean you're making money.
Yeah. Doing what you love. And obviously it's not like as rewarding in the beginning as opposed to working like a secure job, but I think like eventually it pays off. So I think that sets us aside too, because like people see us and they're like, whoa, like these kids are like, you know, like they're doing it, like they're doing things that we dreamed of doing and they're doing it now, and like they're not scared, because like it's a scary process, like having your own business.
I really admire what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Especially like young kids. I hate when older people, kids now, they don't know, blah, 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 they don't blah, blah. All they do is complain about like young people. I'm like, you should just watch and learn from what they're doing. Like, I think it's really amazing. I didn't know you were 23.
I don't think anybody really, I don't think like anybody really notices that like it's me. I don't really mind. And it's like, when people find out how young I am, I've definitely like felt like she doesn't know what she's doing. From a lot of people who are older than me. But then there's also people who are older than me who are like, oh my God, like that's awesome, like you can do it, like and I think it's just like one of those things, like you said, like older people, like they have like the mentality of like they're too young, they're too green, they don't know about the real world yet. But it's also like, if you don't give us the opportunity and the like intention of us understanding the real world, then we never are, because if you guys keep like belittling us, then how are we gonna know? So I think it's awesome when I meet like people who are older than me and they're very encouraging and who want to help, because like I say it all the time, I like know what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm doing. Like I've had to figure everything out like kind of by myself and just like in the moment. And so I think it's awesome when I can find mentorship from somebody who's willing to help me, and I can go to them and ask them for advice. There's like a lot. So I work out of a commissary kitchen, and there's like a whole bunch of other people with food trucks there. I've definitely found mentorship in a lot of the people there where I can go to them for any question, because I know there's people who know 1,000 times more than I do, and I don't have a problem learning from people. Whenever I work with other people, when we do collabs and stuff like that, they're like, how do you want to do it? And I'm like, how do you want to do it? Like, I'm like, this is what you're good at. Like, I just want to like add to it. I just want to enhance it a little with me. But how do you do it? And I love learning from people. I think it's awesome. And I think it gives us, that's another thing I think gives us a lot of edge. We are not scared to like venture out and to test the waters with other things. And I think if you've tried like any of our specials, like people can see that. Some of our specials are very traditional. We've done like mole and stuff like that, where it's like, that's one thing that I wouldn't want to mess with, because it's such a like cultural thing that has such an impact for us that I wouldn't ever want to like disrespect something like that. But then there's other things that you can get like fun and crazy with and add like influences from like literally anywhere else. And I think at first people weren't very like intrigued by our specials, and I would come up with like some super cool stuff and nobody would buy it, and I was sad, and I was like, maybe I should stop. Maybe I should start putting lettuce on tacos. But I think it's part of that resilience where you just don't give up. You have to just like keep going and see what happens from it.
Do you ever feel like quitting?
Yes.
and that's totally fine. It's part of the process.
Yeah, not quitting the food industry, I think, and I get this thought a lot, especially like this week was so long for me. The summertime is coming back up, like things are picking up, like we're still new, like this is gonna be our first like full-blown summer, and so it's getting a lot busier. And like sometimes I'm just like why did I do this? Like, why did I do this to myself? Because nobody told me to start my own business. Nobody told me to open up a food truck. I did it by myself. And it's really fun a lot of times, but a lot of times it's really draining, really, like, you get, like, in these moods where you're just, like, you don't want to talk to anybody, you don't want to look at anybody, you don't want to step foot in the kitchen, because it's just, like, so overwhelming at how much you have to do. And then there's always that pressure of, like, maintaining the same quality, of always trying to be better. And so when I first started, like, we didn't really have a lot of recognition. Like, it was really slow for us, and I was like, oh my God, like, this was a terrible idea. Like, why did I do this? Like, I have no money. I have no money to pay I only had one employee, my brother. And he was really lax about it. Like, he was like, it's okay. Like, when you have it, you have it. He was like, I don't mind. Like, I'm not bugging you for it. And like, I didn't have money to like pay for like the food either, like food costs. I maxed out my credit cards. Like, I was just like, oh my God, like, why did I do this? And like, yeah, like sometimes I'm just like, you know? But I think there's always those moments where like you're like, this is why I do it.
Yes.
When you feel like, so people ask me all the time, like, do you get tired of cooking? And I'm like, yes. Like, the same thing every day, yes. Like, do I get tired of making asada? Yes. Do I get tired of cooking chicken? Yes. Do I get tired of unsticking tortillas? Yes. Do I get tired of cutting onion? Yes. Because it's so repetitive. But that's why I love doing specials, because like, it could be a traditional special, it could be a non-traditional special, it could be something that just came up the day before, but it's like me, like, it's exciting, like being able to do something new. And a lot of times it kicks our ass on the truck, like, and then I'm like, why did I choose to put this on the menu today? Because we're like slammed and we're just looking around and it's like special, and then all the other regular stuff, and I'm like, oh man. But it is part of the process, like wanting to quit, but I think your love and passion for it trumps that, and I think that's what matters. So I think also that would be another thing that sets us aside. I think a lot of people, when it comes to the food industry, they just do it to do it, and you'll come across that all the time. People start restaurants or food trucks and that, and they're just doing it to do it for the money. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, with making a living, but I think passion is something that really, when you go somewhere and they're doing it with passion, you can tell. When they're cooking with love, you can tell. And I think that sets us aside. That'd probably be the main thing, because I care about what we do. And you can ask anybody who works with me, like, when something's not going out the right way, like, I get mad. And like, in the moment, they get mad too. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, we've gotten into fights on the truck, but it's one of those things where all it takes is one wrong plate and like, you're done, you know? You can go to McDonald's and they mess up your order and you get mad.
Yeah.
But you go back because it's convenient.
Yeah.
Though when it's like a smaller place, like, you're like, oh man, it was terrible, because you can't get that everywhere. So it's like, it's terrible. I don't want to go back here. I don't want to waste my money or whatever. And I'm like, it just takes one time to like ruin somebody's perception of you. And yeah, and it's hard. Everything, it just kind of like closes in on you, and you're like, do I still want to do this? I was feeling that way this week. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like sometimes I'm like, I would much rather just work in a kitchen for somebody and have my day end with a shift. But here it's like my day never ends. I'm like always thinking about work. I need to do this for work. I need to get this for work. What idea am I going to come up with? Are people going to like this? Like, you know, it's...
Did cooking start for you as a hobby?
For me, cooking started more, I don't want to say like as a survival instinct, but it was more of those things out of necessity.
Okay.
Because my dad was a single dad, and because he immigrated here, a lot of people go into labor, and he was a construction worker, and we didn't have anybody at home to do like stuff like that, because my dad would leave super early in the morning and come home late at night. And he would come home at night tired, covered in, you know, dust and stuff like that. And he would still cook for us. Even if it was like beans and eggs or something like that, it's something small. He always made sure that he cooked for us. And when I was 7, like it really hit me. Like I was like, oh man, like I feel bad for my dad. Like he's probably like I'm tired from school. You know, I'm in like 2nd grade learning how to do multiplication, and I'm tired from that. I like imagine how tired he is. And so I was like, I'm gonna start learning how to cook. And I started making eggs. Oh, that's the first thing I learned how to cook. And for a long time, every day I would cook eggs, and I would put ketchup on it, make a smiley face. And you know the like iceberg lettuce salad you can buy? It has like carrots and like purple cabbage and stuff like that. So it was eggs with a smiley face made out of ketchup and that salad, just that. That was our dinner every day for a long time. And my dad hates ketchup, but he would still eat the eggs with the ketchup on it because, you know, I was trying. And then slowly after that, I was like, I'm gonna try making this. I'm gonna try making that. And then it kind of just like kept going up. I was like, what if I make this? What if I make that? And I would watch. So when we would vacation to Mexico, I would sit in the kitchen with my grandma and I would watch what she was doing. She wouldn't let me cook, but I would watch what she was doing. And then I would sit in the kitchen with my uncle and I would watch what he was doing. I would just sit there and watch everybody. And then I would watch the Cooking Network, the Food Network and all that. And I just was always watching. And then when I finally got in the kitchen, I was like, all right, let me see if I can replicate what they did. I couldn't always, but I think it was always like watching everybody when I was younger that like made me be able to have the confidence to finally be able to say like, oh, I can do this. And it started with like small stuff and just experimenting. And then it just got to the point where it was just like, F it, like, let's just see like what's gonna work. And that's like why I really enjoy being in the kitchen, because you can mess something up. It can deviate from like what the original is supposed to be, but if you have the like confidence, you can fix it. You can turn it into something new. And that's why I like didn't like baking anymore, because you can't do that with baking. If you mess it up, it's messed up. Like there's nothing much you can really do once you pull it out of the oven.
So you were born in Charlotte from Mexican parents. Do you consider yourself a hybrid? Because I mean, you were born here, but at the same time, you got different culture at home. Yeah.
So my dad is Mexican, but my mom is actually American. She's from here. And a lot of people, when I tell them that, they're like, "What? You're not fully Mexican?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint." But we didn't grow up with her. So I always tell people like I don't really feel like I have that like American culture like embedded in me, because I was born here, so obviously like we have like part of the norms and stuff that we grow up with, but at home it was always we spoke Spanish, we ate Mexican food, we went to Mexico every single summer, so we were always in the city every single summer. And I think it's definitely interesting because I get a lot of older customers, and a lot of them are like shocked and surprised by what we do, especially because of the way we look and the way we talk and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's interesting because to people who are born here, like they're like, it's Mexican food, you know, they know what they're doing. But then like the other people who are actually from Mexico and stuff like that, they look at us and they're like, what are you doing?
But I think that's where your success comes from, because you're true to yourself and you're embracing who you are. And you're mixing up, like, you know, you're not trying to fit in with the American culture. You're not trying to fit in with the Mexican culture. It's just who you are. Yeah, I think that's, like, the most important aspect of it. That and the passion. I think that's what really makes, because
a lot of people don't like what we do. A lot of people like what we do. So it's just like, you're never going to please everybody. So we're just kind of like, whatever. Like, whoever likes it, likes it. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. You know, we've had like rough customers where they like get mad at the window and stuff like that. And we're like, there's nothing we can do. You know, I'm sorry. Like, if this isn't the place for you, it's not the place for you.
Yeah.
But I think we make it a welcoming place. I would like to think that we make it a very welcoming place. I love to talk to people at the window. Not when we're in a rush, but when I get the opportunity to take people's orders and stuff like that, I like to chat with people. I have a lot of regulars who I talk to them all the time. They come to the window and I'm like, oh my God, it's nice to see you again. Like, you haven't been here in so long. And you meet a lot of cool people, which I think is like something awesome from the food truck. You get to go to different places, you meet different people, you make different connections. I don't know, I think it's pretty cool.
Keep on going. Don't stop. Go get it.
Yeah.
This is what Dale Dale is about.
Yes.
You know, everyone that I've talked to, they've been scared. They've doubt about like, oh, why did I do this? Should I keep on going? Yes, keep on going.
I think it's a thought that crosses everybody's mind. It's scary. I mean, in any part of life, it doesn't matter what. I mean, were you scared when you started this?
Of course.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Like, what are people gonna think? You know, like, it's like, how are people gonna take it? And you're just like,
especially like, oh no, I don't want to be on camera. I don't know how to have a conversation. And now I've been doing it for a year in Spanish. Now I'm like, okay, I gotta, you know, I'm bilingual. Why should I be ashamed or embarrassed of my accent?
Yeah.
I have an accent.
You can't change it. It's normal. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But thank you so much for doing this today.
Thanks for having me.
You got an amazing food truck. The Al Pastor is like
Thank you.
so good. And like I said, like, I love Mexico City. Like, you got that culture, and you keep on doing it. Like, just keep working hard. It's gonna pay off.
I hope
for sure. Yeah. For this summer, do you have anything special, or do you just?
It just kind of comes as it comes. I know we have a couple markets that we're doing soon. We have a lot of collabs coming up soon. So we have one actually next week, and then we have a 420 themed collab too, where we're going to be doing some cool stuff. So if you guys follow us on Instagram, we're going to post what the collabs are going to be, and all of our collabs with different chefs or just different people who have their own businesses. They're always awesome, in my opinion. I think that's like part of the coolest thing that we do, is being able to work with other people. So check those out. Our 1-year anniversary is also coming up, and we're gonna have a market for that. It's gonna be May 18th. There's gonna be a lot of different things there, so I think that's something cool to look forward to. We're gonna have limited merch. We're gonna have a tattoo artist there with a cool little El Veneno themed flash. We're just gonna have a whole bunch of different people there, so it's gonna be a cool market.
Awesome. We'll be there.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel, and keep on supporting local businesses. El Veneno.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Del uno al otro.